Hi, my name is Soile, and you're listening to Heartland, a fan podcast from a fan perspective. Welcome back to Heartland. And wow, we're back. Whether you like this episode or not, it definitely sparked a lot of comments. Thanks for all of those. And I'm trying to keep my commentary short and try to focus on your reviews about the episode. So let's just jump right in. So one of the cons about watching this type of show on a week to week basis is that you're always left guessing if this was sort of it, especially with an episode like this. It's like, okay, well, there was something, but I was kind of hoping for more because in my mind, I was thinking that this would be like the episode with Amy and her blindness. Like it's totally Jack centric and how the family deals with his recovery or like the scare that they just had. But no, it was not like that. In fact, the focus was barely on Jack, which is kind of strange. Yeah, I don't know if that was the best choice. Like we know that they can do episodes like Darkness and Light, where Amy was blind and the focus was heavily on her. So it's like, why not just do something like that with Jack? And well, at least Lisa was there, but even her barely. There were a couple of scenes that I liked. Well, not that they really even had much, but the one at the beginning where they're coming back from the hospital, she's obviously very emotional seeing Jack like this. And then later on, when Jack is having this phone call and she's like, "What are you doing up?" Like, no, 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 you sit down and I'll deal with the business thing. And I love the business meeting with that Gary guy. Not only because, obviously Lisa is a businesswoman, but also because it's usually those kind of scenes that they don't show, but what we find interesting. So there were some good moments, but I was really hoping for more. Also, I was wondering where was Jessica? Like, obviously, there was a bit of a time jump between the last episode and this, but seeing the state Tim must have been in since the accident, I'm curious to know, what was the conversation between him and Jessica before she went someplace else? Like, I doubt she was comfortable leaving him like that. So, really curious to see if there's some kind of explanation next episode or whenever she's coming back. Also, I was really surprised the way Caleb handled everything, not the part that he was helping Tim, because I obviously saw that being something he would do, but he was actually kind of mature about it, like making sure that they would call the police after they would find Mike and letting Jack know that Tim was kind of acting weird and just like, I don't know. I was surprised by that. Is it the fatherhood? Or maybe it was a bit like when back in season 14, he was kind of like, well, now that I'm a dad, and Ty's death obviously shook me a little bit. I don't know. He seemed different, but actually didn't mind that because that is more the way that I hope these things would be handled. Also, I was really interested to see them bringing back Drishage. I don't know how to say that. Apologies. Because the last time we saw that was in season 3, I think. And even then, it was kind of overshadowed by what was happening with Pegasus. So I was hoping that this would be kind of redemption story for that discipline, but it was sort of not. I mean, there were some points made about, it being like ballet, but I also feel like it was kind of swept aside, which is a shame because it's the kind of thing that I don't see a lot. So it would be interesting to learn more about that. And speaking of that storyline, I liked it, but I'm not sure if they really had to do it in this episode. I understand they needed like a project for Amy and her story, but I was kind of hoping maybe it would involve Blue somehow. So I didn't mind it, but I'm a little confused because I was trying to think if there's like parallels between Jack getting hurt or something like that, between the story with Miley and her grandmother, but I'm not sure if there were like very clear parallels like there usually is between the main storyline and then the horse story. But I did like seeing Sherry again. I think she's just delightful and just this lovely grandmotherly type of figure, sort of like Mrs. Bell was. And it was interesting to see that kind of relationship because even though Lisa is a grandmother as well, it's a different type of thing. So I really appreciated seeing that kind of storyline, but maybe I would have preferred it in the next episode. I did like the Jack and Amy conversations for the most part. There were a couple of things that I might have tweaked if it was up to me, but I did like that Amy expressed that Jack hurt her by saying the things he did. And I've been sort of waiting when the time comes for Amy to acknowledge that she's still wearing her wedding rings. Like I was expecting a storyline around that, and this kind of gave it to us. But I would have liked to see more parallels between, Jack saying like he was talking a little bit about Lindy, but I was hoping he would kind of go like, well, it took me a while to do that when Lindy passed away, but I was hoping for more parallels between Jack and Amy's situation because Jack has kind of been through what Amy has gone through. Lindy passed away when she was still young, and I'm sure Jack had trouble moving forward with his life at that point. So I was hoping that they would have just given it one more layer by mentioning like how love can come again, like it did come for Jack and Lisa. Also, for the most part, I was happy with the way they wrote the whole Tim and Mike's story arc. There are some shades I'm questioning about the end result because Mike did a bad thing, and I think he should be responsible for that. I understand he has regrets, and it did came across that he was actually sorry for what he did, but it's just you know, it was a really bad thing that he did. The scenes in Tim's truck reminded me of older seasons of Heartland where it's just like this quiet moments between two characters and you get to learn something new about the characters in question. So I did enjoy the acting. Also, by the end of the episode, when Amy and Logan are watching Lindy ride with Miley there, and Logan expresses that he feels this pressure about Amy having so much faith in him. And I really liked what Amy said about not wanting to add pressure to the way Logan works, but more like wanting him to know that there's a safety net in case he needs that. And I just really like that kind of Amy-like approach to mentoring someone. And the ending scene with Jack, Lisa, Tim, Amy, and Blue there, I did like that, especially when Tim walked out of his truck and they were like, so where's Mike? And Tim's like,
he's in a better place.
And they were like, what? Like thinking he killed Mike or something. And then Jack makes that joke about Winnipeg and winter. Now I've never been there and I don't know how that is, but the joke still came across to me and I really love that little moment. And then after that we have Blue coming to check on Jack. So that was really sweet. And then onto your comments. The first one comes from MC Loves Heartland. Prior to watching, I was worried they would rush Jack's recovery. And although that looks to be the case next episode, I don't think they did that here. Yes, he was moving around much more than he should have, but I think they handled the emotions everyone was having because of this accident really well. There were so many emotional scenes between Jack and other characters. It was good to see. I'm glad he and Amy have resolved their fight. They are my top two favorite characters, and it was hard to see them fighting like they were. Their talk was so emotional, it had me very close to crying by the end of it. I'm with everyone else. I'm not being very happy with how they've handled the Finn and Amy storyline, but in this talk, it was just what she was feeling. She doesn't know yet it was a misunderstanding or if her inclinations are correct. I think it really helped Amy examine herself and think about if she actually is ready to move forward and start dating again. I was pleasantly surprised when Tim did not take Mike to the police. I think that says a lot about his character and who he is as a person. When Jack drove over to the bar to try and stop Tim, I thought for sure he would fall down because he shouldn't have been doing that and how it would take a toll on his body. But nope. I'm not really sure why Caleb called Jack. He should have known what would happen. I loved Lisa's negotiations with Gary. It was awesome. I was like, you go, girl. I really enjoyed the horse story with Miley and Journey. At first, when it was revealed that it was Miley and not the horse, I was kind of annoyed because we've had so many of those lately. But I think it was done really well. I hope the character of Miley is in other episodes as well because I'd love to see her and Logan as a couple and her coaching Lindy. That was such a sweet scene at the end. Katie and Lou's storyline wasn't my favorite. It was kind of in the background for me. Katie's reaction when she saw Miley and Logan hug was great. Bay's acting was perfect, and she was able to capture the emotion of it really well. Lou and Katie's mother/daughter time was enjoyable until Katie blew up in Lou's face, which, okay, is understandable, but it definitely wasn't my favorite moment between them. I'm really ready for this tension to be resolved because they are tracking it out so much. I just want Katie and Lou to have a deep talk about what's going on. I love that scene where Katie was crying in bed. She's going through so much right now with her crush on Logan, Jack's accident, and her tension with Lou. I do wish we had more scenes with Jack and other characters, not just mainly Amy, because Lou was really affected by Tim's accident, and I wonder if this brought up that trauma. Overall, I really enjoyed the episode. It brought me to tears so many times. There was some stuff they could have done better, but I think it was great. I do hope that in the next episode, Jack isn't magically healed because realistically, that wouldn't happen. I too did like Miley's character, and I think she came across very sweet. And hopefully, we'll see her again. Also, I think in the last episode, I don't remember who exactly said it, but they suggested that Katie Logan crush thing would be resolved by bringing in a possible girlfriend for Logan, and ta-da, we have it. So I was glad about that aspect of it. Obviously it was really like shallow crush at this point, but we'll see if it goes somewhere. I too was hoping that the scenes between Lou and Katie would be more about Lou thinking that Katie would be upset about, obviously Jack getting hurt, and maybe she would explain that she was almost her age when Tim got hurt and it really affected her, and if she ever wants to talk about that, like she's there for her. And maybe part of it would be why Katie's upset, and then the Logan thing. Like, I think it would have had more emotional punch in it if that was the case. Then Stephanie said, I did enjoy the episode, but as many have expressed, if this episode was just some random one during the season, it would have been totally fine. However, after a huge cliffhanger last season, they should have had the focus be on Jack a little more and less on Katie/Logan drama. Don't get me wrong, I love it when the kids are more involved in the show, but after waiting weeks to see the aftermath of Jack's accident, I feel like they owe it to us to dive more into that storyline and to have Lisa way more involved. With that being said, here are some things I did enjoy. Amy and Jack's talk was a really sweet moment. I'm glad Jack admitted the way he behaved towards Amy wasn't acceptable and he was in the wrong. That whole scene made me pretty emotional. Lisa handling the cow business like a boss woman that she is was so iconic. I absolutely love that scene. When Tim said Mike is in a better place, then slowly said he's left to go to see his sister, made me laugh out loud. The look on Jack's face before Tim finished his sentence was too funny. I did like the new addition of Miley. However, like I've said before, I do wish maybe that plot point was brought in at a different time, since I feel like Giza really should have been the main focus of the episode. And, of course, Tim's plot with Mike, and Amy and Jack having that conversation. Then No Context Heartland said, honestly, I was a little bit disappointed with the fallout from Jack's accident because it really seems to be almost entirely tied up just in this episode. There was a lot of opportunities for more angst and closure around it all. I would have liked to see more between Jack and Lisa around the accident. I guess I'll be holding out hope for the cabin next episode. Lisa was a badass doing that negotiation, and I have a lot of appreciation for her. Lou and Katie's storyline is really tracking out, and I hope they wrap it up with Georgie's return in a few episodes. It is so exhausting to see Lou's many attempts to figure out how to bond with her daughter backfire. I'm hopeful that Georgie coming back will help with some closure of that arc. Otherwise, there's a real danger of them overdoing it. I did like that Lou's observant enough to put the pieces together about Katie's crush on Logan, and I'm forever grateful that someone who's a more age-appropriate potential love interest for him has been brought in. Miley seems interesting, and I hope she sticks around. Mike and Tim's drama seemed to be resolved way faster than I thought. I imagined it would be closer to the end of the season that they wrap up that plot line. I don't know how I feel about that, as it feels like some major plots for Tim, Mike, and Ezra's existence have already been tied off, so I guess we'll see if slash what they do for the end of the season with him. I'm so tired of the show turning Finn into a villain, and I really hope they redeem that choice next episode with that one chick showing up at the ranch. It feels so unfair to Robert's memory, and I need this to end on a better note. Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything you said. I get when you're a teenager, sometimes this angst just takes over you, and sometimes it doesn't even make sense. You're just feeling this way because of hormones and whatever. But I also feel like they're really tracking out the storyline. So I hope that the payoff is worth it because it's been a heavy season to watch Lou just kind of struggle to figure out what to do. In a way, I'm not sure if it's a good thing or a bad thing that Georgie coming back might be kind of the thing that sets things into place. I would hope that they would be able to resolve that before she gets there so it doesn't become this huge issue or just sort of mess up Georgie's return. But yeah, we'll see. Then Heartland Lisa BFC said, I'm not sure about this episode. If it was just a random week, it would have been fine, but after the cliffhanger of Jack being rushed to the hospital, I hope for a more relevant episode to that. This episode to me should have been central to Jack's accident and recovery with the impact it had on him and the family. I didn't see the need for the Katie Logan crush thing this episode. It should have been more family orientated. Yes, there was some plus points. Enjoyed seeing Lisa, but felt like there should have been more Giza, to be honest. I did like how she took control doing the cattle deal. Showed what a good business brain she has. The Jack and Amy scenes were really good, with the exception of Amy telling Jack she was right about Finn. I have a feeling that he's not going to be right. Like I said, though, this episode just didn't feel all I wanted from the cliffhanger of the last episode. If Jack was the center of this episode, but you want all the main characters there for that, for me, the episode should have been Jack recovering from accident, Lisa supporting him and taking over doing things just like that cattle deal. Amy working with Plu while still feeling guilty over the argument with Jack prior to accident. Covers the horror story for the episode. Katie trying to be there for her Gigi, like the playing cards or whatever she wanted to do with him, but then perhaps breaking down emotionally over the fact she could have lost her Gigi. Lou trying to keep everything in order and running smoothly like Lou does to help Jack, and then supporting Katie in understanding his accident using the experience she had from Tim's accident. Even having a heart-to-heart with Lisa over it would have been better to see. Tim going after Mike for revenge for Jack's accident. Jessica being there for Tim, making sure he doesn't do something he regrets in revenge, and even there for a woman's heart-to-heart with Lou, Lisa, Amy, showing a family pulling together. Lindy, just being there and around, as kids that age don't fully understand, so just being present is enough. Everyone then has their own thing, but it's all connected to the main cliffhanger of Jack's accident. Logan didn't need to be there. This is one episode it should have literally just been family dealing with the aftermath of Jack's accident. I mean, this would have been just perfect. Like, I don't think the Logan storyline needed to be there. They could have replaced Caleb's role with Jessica or, just have the family there. I would have been really, really happy if this would have been the way the episode would have played out. Then Sharon said, great scenes between Jack and Amy. Jack realizing that he was using his past and putting it on Amy and both apologizing. Amy talking about her rings was a step even if she thinks she isn't ready. Wanting to feel something again was another step. She'll get there, as there are a lot of steps to walk. Amy judging Finn without a full explanation, guess that will be answered in the next episode. I think Katie having a crush on Logan is natural for someone her age. Besides, who else has she met either at Maggie's or the ranch in her age bracket? Katie is a young teenager experiencing her first love and her first heartbreak. Lou is trying to help her, but typically she can only see her pain. Hopefully she will talk to Lou and not Jack, as this situation is between a mother and a daughter. Okay. Now for the unrealistic part, Jack's 8 broken ribs. I broke one rib and could barely move, and breathing was painful. A man of his infinite years being able to move and then drive? Seriously, at least Lisa, for the extremely short screen time, wasn't taking any of this BS. I loved how she used her business skills. She didn't get where she is by not having any. Hopefully, she gets more than 10% from Jack and Tim. Tim has one friend, Caleb. Just once can he show some respect towards Caleb. Just once. I did enjoy the episode, but I did find it lacking scenes between Jack and Lisa. Guess that might happen in the next episode. Looks like a lot of things will be answered in the next episode. Bring on next week. Yeah, I mean, the ribs thing, driving, he put a lot of people at risk. Like, I don't know how far the saloon was from Heartland, but I imagine it's not just at the end of the road for him. So, I don't even. Sharon put it perfectly. It's insane. Also, I agree that I hope that, well, we know that in the next episode, Katie opens up. But just having Jack as this person who everyone talks to, it's kind of getting old. I mean, I understand he's easy to talk to and he's this old wise guy, but like, I don't know why this conversation can't happen between Lou and Katie. Like, what's the barrier there? I'm not sure. But hopefully, even if she would talk to Jack, Jack would say something like, I'm okay with listening, but the person you really need to talk to is your mother. And you should try to fix that connection between you two. So if that's happening, I hope that's the direction the plot is headed. Then Victoria said, I have mixed feelings regarding this week's return of Heartland. First, I was glad for a new episode since it took a long mid-season break. I actually missed seeing the characters and dialogue. The horse story was a little predictable as it was an owner problem. Kind of the same song, different horse. I didn't like the love interest route for Logan, but understand the reasoning because of Katie's storyline of liking an older boy. I feel sorry for Lou not being able to connect with her daughter. She's trying at least now. I enjoyed the few fun comments that Caleb brings. If not, the drama would be too dry. Tim letting Mike just go was very strange, but understandable, and it did leave things peaceful. I did hope for some apology towards Jack, but then that would take too long. Amy, Finn, Jack storyline is kind of wearing me out. I hope that the writers turn Finn into a good character in the end, rather than how they portrayed him now. I really think there is more to the Jack Al storyline for the next episode, especially when Jack mentioned that Al blamed Lindy. I bet she's going to be dragged back into light, which, in my opinion, is a slap in the face to Lisa. Amy has been dealt a real roller coaster. Parents split, grandma died, mom died, husband died. Phew, she just needs to remember that Ty would want her to be happy. Jack was a bear. Love that Lisa stood her ground, and then we got to see her put on her business face and do something beside babysit or be in the background of the kitchen. She rocked her deal. Plus 10%? Kind of sad that the storyline of Heartland Cattle dropped at the end, since Jack mentioned it twice during the episode. Thought we would get to see a thank you from Jack or something else. She should have had the comeback line of, "He negotiated an inch and I took a mile." Kinda broke the trend of a kiss each episode this season as well. I was really hoping for Lisa's eyes to be open to realize she doesn't have much time left with Jack and really start thinking about not being away so much. I thought she stated back in season 12 she doesn't know what she would do without him. Well, it's becoming too close for comfort now. I love that line. I wish they would have used that with Lisa like that. He negotiated an inch and I took a mile. Like, perfect. I too was hoping that they would have a scene where she would kind of make sure that Jack knows that he can rest now because the deal has been done. And then Jack would have said, "Thank you. You're the best. Like, what would I do without you?" And maybe some sort of conversation about her being like, "I'm serious. You need to take it slow. And I don't want to lose you." I wanted something like that to happen, but maybe in the next episode, I really am hoping because, well, I don't need to tell you this. Then Chris Tim Heartland said, "It was an okay episode. There are things that I liked and things that I didn't like. I like the fact that Amy and Jack talked things through, but I did not like that Amy apologized out of guilt because of her and Jack's last conversation before his accident. I still have a feeling that Jack is wrong about Finn and his name will be cleared. Liked how Lou was trying to connect and spend time with Katie, but did not like how Katie was acting like a moody teenager and shutting off. It's been long enough. She should cut Lou some slack. Jack being grumpy and moody and not wanting any help from anyone was typical Jack. The day before, he couldn't even go up the stairs by himself, and the next day he's able to drive miles? Hello? I don't really know what to think of the Logan Miley storyline. They could have done that storyline in another episode, maybe. I did like Miley, though. Loved Lisa and how she did business. Extra 10%? Way to go, woman. What a great business sense she has. She knew Gary wanted to take advantage of dealing with a woman, but she stood her ground. Loved every second of it. Loved it when Tim found Mike and pinned him to the wall. Mike needed to know the consequences of his actions. I liked how Tim dealt with the whole situation and let him go, even encouraged Mike to go see his sister. Loved it when Tim came back to the ranch and told Jack and Lisa Mike's in a better place. OMG, that was hilarious. The horrified look on Lisa's face and then the smile on Tim's face as he walked away. Priceless. I'm still laughing just thinking of it. I did miss Jessica. I felt she should have been the one driving up to Tim and Caleb, not Jack. It would have been more realistic. I'm looking forward to the next episode, and I hope that blonde woman, Chrissy, will clear Finn's name. Again, great thoughts. Agreed with a lot of them. I like the idea of Jessica being the voice of reason with Tim because she was like that when Ezra was there. And so it would have been a little bit of a callback to that moment and him sort of realizing that he just can't keep doing things like this, that he needs to deal with things in other ways. Otherwise, he's going to be the one in jail. Also, I know that it was kind of a tiny thing, kind of tiny detail. But I did like that Tim remembered that Mike had a sister in Winnipeg. It was a subtle way to show that Mike wasn't just this person Tim forgot about, or he didn't just forget these details of Mike's life just because, things happened. That told a lot about Tim in that moment. Then a comment from HR Horses. It was fine. I definitely had more expectations, especially regarding Jack and Lisa. I really wanted some sort of hospital scene with them, but no. The scene where Jack comes home was super good, though. Painful to watch, but good. And it was nice to see Lisa take care of him no matter how brief it was. This sounds bad, but I've wanted an episode like this since the heart attack, and I know others have too, but I hope they have more planned because it wasn't it. But we did win because Lisa was there, and a lot of us weren't even sure that was going to happen. I did like Lisa standing her ground with Jack though. And Lisa on a horse? Heck yes. First time since season 14, but really season 11 since season 14 was so brief. Lisa doing the negotiations was awesome. I hope in an upcoming episode they have Jack and Lisa deal more with this injury issue. I would have wanted to see more of Lisa taking care of an injured Jack, as bad as that sounds, but since he probably will be fully healed by next episode physically, I'm hoping they deal with the mental aspect. Like talk about what it means for their relationship and their life together, maybe bring up Jack's old insecurities about his age and have him not be in a good place. Maybe Lisa feeling guilty because she wasn't there. This convo bringing up retirement. Anything more than what we got. It was nice to see dressage because we hardly see that, if at all, on the show. Can't remember specifically, but I think just once before. Also, love seeing Sherry Wild because I loved her in the first episode she was in. I wouldn't mind Miley sticking around just so Logan can be with her and Katie's crush can stay a crush. Looks like she might be if she's Lindy's coach. Tim showed a lot of growth this episode. I think it's pretty reasonable he went after Mike himself, at least this time, even if him manhandling Mike wasn't the best decision. Tim standing up for Jack and getting all emotional over what Jack went through was nice to see. I also liked Tim and Jack's convo at the bar, but was very surprised Jack showed up. The two convos Tim and Mike had were good and showed growth on Tim's part, but it just seemed too easy. Like it seemed they both buried the hatchet and Tim just forgave Mike, but he almost killed Jack, so not sure if it should have been that easy, even if it showed growth for Tim, especially with him not getting violent with Mike. I did appreciate Amy and Jack making up. Their initial conversation in the ranch house was good, except for the fact that Amy said Jack was right, even if at this point it looks like he was right. It made me sad when Amy said Finn broke her heart. I'm also glad they talked about her rings. The conversation Jack and Amy had in the barn was sweet. I'm also glad Jack pretty much told her to get back out there, kind of which makes this storyline, at least at this point, not totally pointless or regressive. I was at first really surprised when I saw Amy taking off her rings because we really haven't seen her really reflect if she's ready or anything. So I was surprised they were going to do it in the first episode it was even mentioned. I'm all for him moving on and taking the rings off, but in this case, I'm glad they didn't, because otherwise it would have felt rushed, in my opinion. I did feel really bad for Lou, though, because she is trying and Katie just isn't having it. There were some scenes that made me laugh, though, like the first Caleb and Tim scene at Maggie's, Caleb volunteering Tim for $100, and my favorite is when Tim is like, Mike's in a better place, and Lisa just looks at him super concerned and worried like Tim killed him or something. Also, Blue walking up to Jack at the end was sweet and such a Heartland moment. Can't wait for next week. I'm wondering if Amy even had any type of contact with Finn after she visited him, because I would imagine that Finn would be confused why she isn't answering his texts or phone calls or like anything. Or was Amy like, I'm not ready after all, like, let's just end this here, and then just didn't explain what happened. Also, the ring thing, I was glad that they brought it up. And while I was kind of like okay with Amy taking off the rings in the end, you got me thinking there, like, maybe it makes more sense of her to kind of take them off and be like, no, 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 not yet, not too soon. But I feel like because we know that the woman from Finn's house, Chrissy, comes to visit Heartland in the next episode. I'm thinking maybe after that, because Finn gets his redemption or whatever you want to call it, she feels like her heart wasn't in the wrong and she can trust her instincts. And even if it didn't work out with Finn, she can still sort of take that next step, for her, just like Jack said in the episode. Then Sprock said, I agreed that it would have been nice to have more Jack and Lisa heart-to-heart time in this episode, but this is Heartland. I have come to, it's either expect or accept that, I'm not sure which one, that we will never get enough Jack and Lisa. The only episode I recall where we saw them a lot was when they took the road trip and ran out of gas. I have also realized that when one of the main cast gets hurt, no matter how bad, their recovery is quick and they move on. Having expected these things, I think the episode was good. Tim didn't do something stupid. Jack and Amy resolved their problem. Katie and Lou, I feel, will continue to have problems until the end of the season. All in all, it has been a very interesting season. I just hope it's not the last. Yeah, you're talking about season 7, episode 14, the one where Jack and Lisa go to that road trip, and it's one of my absolute favorites. It's like a fever dream I never knew I needed, but as soon as I saw it, I just it was perfection. I keep hoping that one day we'll get a gem like that again. Then Selden said, I don't really know what to say about this episode because I'm still not sure how I feel about it. Emotional Amy was beautiful to see because Amber is so good in those scenes, and I'm glad Amy and Jack cleared the air because Amy has always been Grandpa's girl, so to speak. One of my all-time favorite scenes of this show is still the end of episode 4 of season 8, where Ty leaves Amy to the barn and drives away. The emotion in that scene is so strong, even though what came after that is maybe the most painful Heartland I've ever watched. It was also so nice to see Lisa doing business in this episode. Love these strong and independent female characters in the show. I just hope that we would be able to see more of Lisa. I'm also glad that Tim solved the situation with Mike like he did. I really hope that Katie and Lou get things sorted out. The scene where Amy tried to take her rings off but couldn't was, I don't really know what to think of it. There's a part of me that needs to hear Amy say out loud that even if she fell in love with another man, she will never forget Ty completely. And then there's a part of me that thinks that it's been years at this point and kind of hopes that Amy would be able to move on. I don't know if you really can love someone so deeply that even after years, it hurts to let go. It seems like in this show, at least, it is the case with Amy. She will take her time, and when the next real love of her life comes, she is ready to give him all that she has. I think the horror story of this episode was kind of meh. I mean, I think it's possible, like very possible, to love someone so much that losing them hurts even after years. So I think it's realistic in this case. But I also feel like at some point you feel that need to feel something else as well. And I don't just mean love, but just like happiness and excitement. Like, I think it was a nice line in this episode, what Jack said to Amy, like, you just wanted to feel something again. And I think that must be so true. I think Amy is there. She wants to feel something else again. And it doesn't mean that Ty didn't mean anything or that she would stop loving Ty. It's just that she wants to live and it can be tiring to feel a certain type of way after a while. So I think they're doing the balance well, I would say. Then Dip said, I really enjoyed how Lisa handled the cattle sale so masterfully and find it annoying that they could not spare one line of dialogue for Jack to acknowledge this and thank her. The horse story was a very predictable. The problem is the writer, Heartland standard. I do like Miley as a possible girlfriend for Logan. Although a fan of Logan, I was never a fan of the crush. As far as I'm concerned, they can table that attraction until season 21. Well, the writers gave us yet another Jack Saves the Day storyline. I'm happy that he stopped him from doing something he would regret, but I have filed the story under fantasy. That truck must give an awfully smooth ride if the man with 8 broken ribs didn't pass out and drive off the road. I would prefer a realistic Jack to this geriatric Superman. Oh my God. I'm sorry, but I'm just having these visuals about um, Jack wearing his underwear over his jeans as a geriatric Superman. But you're totally right about this. I mean, that truck would never give him that kind of smooth ride. No way. As far as the Amy Jack Finn triangle, I thought Jack got off too easy with the teary-eyed mutual apology. However, in this case, given that Jack nearly died, it is exactly what I would expect would have happened in real life. We know, of course, that this is not over and that no one is too old for a bit of character growth. Jack has until the end of the season, and of course, so does Amy. I would like to see Finn vindicated and Amy trust her instincts again. Wow, Katie is an awful lot like her aunt Amy. Watching Lou trying to reconnect to 14-year-old Katie is a deja vu of Lou returning home to Heartland in season 1 and trying so hard with her 15-year-old sister and getting constantly rejected. At first, I thought Katie's problem was jealousy of Georgie, but after her conversation with Lou in this episode, I wonder if it might be an inferiority complex. Hopefully, she opens up soon and to her mom, not Jack. Yeah, I think you might be on to something there with the problems Katie's feeling inside her. Yeah. Then a comment from the story chemist. I know I shouldn't be shocked, but this episode was shockingly handled. The point of Jack's accident was what exactly? Just for ratings? He seemed to have learned nothing out of it because he's the same, treats everyone the same, and doesn't seem to be too hindered after the serious accident because he's a Superman. Lisa's entirely 4 minutes, 50 seconds of screen time and nothing about how it affected her. If Lisa doesn't play a significant role in the next episode regarding Jack's accident or some pivotal moment regarding Jack's past, I beg the writers to please kill her off. Jack broke 8 ribs and he still can't ask Lisa, Lou, or Amy to drive him to where Tim and Caleb were. Heartland in 2023 still promoting that. Me the man, no need help, because I'm too insecure in my masculinity to ask for help crap. WTF. And Amy is back to square one and hiding away again, unwilling to open her heart. The only shining light is Tim and how he managed to eventually, with help from Caleb via Jack, find a resolution that didn't involve physicality, but perspective, and empathy. I can't emphasize how disappointed I am in this episode. It was such a letdown. Then Dom Burrell said, all I've got to say is Amy and Jack, and then the teary-eyed emoji. Oh, and Katie, she needs to meet Lou halfway. Jack would never have been able to drive with 8 broken ribs, so it's inconceivable that he would have turned up. How did he know they were there anyway? I think Caleb called him. I finally had high hopes for further Lisa growth, but as usual, she gets a few minutes and the story ends. When will they give her more stories that have some substance? I mean, we have only been waiting for 16 years. The scenes with Amy and Jack were tender and made me tearful, especially when Amy said Finn had broken her heart. It's no wonder she doesn't want to open herself up to anyone again. I really feel for her. I'm glad they have carried on the story rather than just abruptly ending it, as it's more realistic. I wasn't too impressed with how the Tim Mike story played out. It didn't just seem realistic, knowing how we know Tim, but I guess it's testament to his character growth that he didn't pummel him. The Lou and Katie issues are dragging on too long. Lou needs to get a grip on it and make Katie talk rather than just giving in to her. I get Katie is jealous of Georgie, but it's getting a bit boring now. It will be interesting to see how Katie deals with Georgie's return. Not sure about Logan's interest in the writer. Was it just to confirm what we already knew? He's Katie's crush? All in all, I enjoyed this episode, despite the fact Jack is still portrayed as a macho stick in the mud. I wonder, the more this season goes on and on, if Katie's whole thing is just jealousy over Lou. I know it's maybe a little bit weird, but when you think about how much time Lou spends with Peter and how she focuses on her work, or she goes to see Georgie, and it's just like Katie in her mind feels like Lou's not actually interested in her. But then it's like, well, she did this day spa thing, and I saw a little bit of joy in that moment, and Katie was like, well, kind of cool. But then the Logan thing interrupted that. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see, I guess. Then Maddie said simply, it was disappointing. Then last but not least, Alberta Treen said, not impressed at all. After such a long wait, this was just disappointing in almost every way. It was about everyone but Jack, and I fully agree with everything the story chemist wrote. The only entertaining thing was Lisa on a horse selling cattle like a boss, which, of course, was not further mentioned. I don't understand why they started a new storyline with that love interest for Logan in a which should have been important episode. This was just not the right place and time. P.S. Except I don't agree on kill off Lisa if she isn't in the next episode. This would be terrible. Thankfully she's in the next episode, and I think possibly in all of the episodes till the finale. So hopefully there's more storylines with her and with more substance. We can only hope. And speaking of next episode, if you're listening to this on Saturday, we have another new episode coming this Sunday, January 15th. It's episode 12 and called Memory. The description for the episode says, a surprise visitor causes Amy to see Finn differently. A weekend trip to the cabin has Jack struggling with his past, while Katie finally opens up. Lou and Peter's dinner party doesn't go as planned. So it seems like it's back to basics. Hopefully some of this Jack storyline will kind of leak into the Jack and Lisa scenes at the cabin. But I guess we'll talk more in the next episode. So until then, keep your noses clean and your powder dry, as they say. Bye.